What is going on, YouTube, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is another Monday motivation. Last week's video was the first Monday motivation. You could hear it in my voice, I'm a little under the weather, but I still want to get these Monday motivation videos out. So last week we talked about my boy Roger Bannister and his 4-minute mile. I hope you guys took that challenge serious. I hope you guys thought about what your 4-minute mile is. But today I'm actually reminded of another story. You could tell so far that I read a lot of books, and there's a lot of stories that stick out to me, this one in particular. So this story is the story about an old general who led his men to foreign shores to go to battle. When he got there, though, he could see that the men were not really all in. They didn't really buy into it. They didn't have the faith that they would possibly succeed. So this general took it in his own hands and gave the order to burn all the boats. Burn all the boats that they arrived on. That's the one command he gave. Obviously his men were very shocked, scared. They didn't understand why he said burn the boats. They were asking, how will we get home? And the general responded basically by saying, if we're going home, it's going to be on their ships. So he had to basically instill that faith and that motivation of, like, if you guys really want to go home, there's only one way, and that's winning. And that's what I want to talk about today, is basically burning your own boats at the end of the day, because sometimes the only way to fully step into whatever you feel you are called to do is to remove the safety net and have faith that there's that golden word again that I'm always mentioning on Monday Motivation. It's faith. You got to have faith that, one, God's gonna bring you through, but then at the end of the day, retreat is not an option. Retreat, you can't go back. The only way through this is forward. Now, for most of us, our boats are considered our comfort zones. We all have them. You may have one, you may have a couple, and all they really are is that they're just excuses. The habits, the plan Bs, we keep them around really just in case our dream doesn't work out. And I've been just as guilty of it. I've had a lot of plans to do something, but then I've always kind of kept a plan B in the back. Or I'll say, like, this is my side hustle, and I'm doing it as a side hustle mainly because I'm scared. I don't want to fully say, like, hey, I'm going to go in and have, sometimes it's hard. I'll be honest. It's very hard to have that faith. But at the end of the day, sometimes you really do just got to go all in and burn your boats at the end of the day. So maybe your boat, everybody's boat is different. Maybe your boat is the job that you hate, but you won't leave. I've been there before. Maybe it's the old routine that keeps you stagnant, meaning you just go through your day-to-day routine, doing the same thing, but expecting different results. By the way, that's called insanity, is doing the same thing over and over, and thinking that you will get a different result. Maybe it's fear, and fear could come in different ways. It could be fear of failure, it could be fear of being judged, it could be fear of what people think, what people might say if you go all in. I've been there before, and I was actually just having this conversation with someone the other day. Whenever you say you're going to do something that you're not currently doing, usually at least from my experience, the people you get the most resistance from, or the most, maybe not resistance, but questioning of, like, well, how are you going to do that, and is this really how it's supposed to work out, is from people that you're closest to. And again, it's no fault of theirs. I'm just as guilty of it. And the reason they ask these questions and talk this way to you is because they see you for who you currently are. They see you for who you have been. So if you're going to step out and go be someone different, they're questioning just because it's going to be hard for them to see that. And again, like I said in my last video, it's not their responsibility to see it. It's your vision. So you got to get that fear out of there. And again, don't get scared. Don't be afraid of the rejection. Just realize they're asking it because they can't see it, and that's totally fine. God didn't put it in their heart; that He put it in yours. That's why it's called your dream. But here's the truth: like, at the end of the day, as long as the boats are sitting behind you, part of you will always be looking over your shoulder, because you will have that safety net. You will have that, I don't have to go all in. If it doesn't work, my boats are right behind me. You can't move forward while planning your escape route. Now, faith isn't faith if it only exists when things are certain. That's not faith. Faith is when you are looking around and realizing things are really bad, and that is when it's most important to have faith. That is when you test your faith. That is when it looks like it's not going to go through and things look bad, yet you have faith without a doubt that it will all work out. That's true faith. Faith begins the moment you take a step without knowing how it will work out. And I'm not saying that's easy. That's definitely hard a lot of the times. But Hebrews 11:1 says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And basically what that's saying is, it says that means faith requires motion at the end of the day. You take that first step, even though you can't see it, because you have faith that it's going to work out. But in order to have faith, you do have to take that first step. You have to have that motion. You don't want to have it all figured out. I mean, you don't have to have it all figured out. But you trust that if God's called you to do it, then He's going to provide you with whatever means necessary to get through it. And we talked about that last week. Basically, we were saying Roger Bannister had to run before anyone believed it was possible. He had to have it. He had to go out there. He had to see it himself. But by him doing that, then everybody eventually had faith, and they had belief that they could go out there and do that. And they questioned their own belief system of like, oh, I can never do that, once they saw him do it. But like him, you might have to move first at the end of the day. You might have to move first and let your faith catch up to your feet at the end of the day. That's really what burning your boats comes down to, is you are having faith that it will work out, and removing the option to go back. Saying to yourself, I'm trusting God enough to move forward, even when it's scary. And I think that's really when you have to have trust in Him the most. And that's why I go back to, I think a lot of successful people are people of faith, because they're exercising that faith muscle of, again, seeing themselves as people that they aren't currently, and they know the only way they can become that person, whether that's physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, they know they have to have faith that it will work out. And I think, again, that faith comes from God. Now here the thing is though, once you make that commitment that you have burned your boats, emotion can no longer be your compass. Discipline at that point has to take over. You have to have the discipline that you will do what's necessary and take the emotion out of it. Because when motivation fades, and it will, trust me, it will, it always does. That's something you could count on. Your motivation will always fade. I don't care how motivated you are. But when motivation fades, that's when your habits will keep you standing. And in order to have habits, you have to have the discipline to create these habits. That's where, for instance, your morning routine, your workouts, your prayer time, your focus on nutrition, all of that becomes your foundation for whatever you're trying to achieve. Because faith without work is dead at the end of the day. You can't just believe, you have to build. You can't just sit there all day and have, like, be thinking faithful thoughts of like everything's going to work out, and then not take any action to actually do it. There was this joke I heard one time that I thought was hilarious. It was this guy who basically was praying every single day to win the lottery. He wanted to win the lottery. He wanted to make a lot of money. He visualized it. He had faith that it would work out. You know, he was very positive, did all the right things, but he never won. And when he eventually died and he went to heaven, he approached God and he was like, "Hey man, I had my faith. I prayed to you every single day. I wanted to win the lottery and I never won the lottery." God looked at him and said, "Well, you had to go buy a ticket." And I think that joke or that story or whatever you want to call it is funny, because it's so true. Like, yeah, you got to have faith, but you also got to put in the work. You can't just sit back. And you build that with one discipline at a time. Like I said, whenever it comes to your nutrition, whether it comes to your sleep, whether it comes to your workouts, whether it comes to your time with your family, those are all daily disciplines that you build one day at a time. So when you live that way, every rep, every meal, every morning becomes an act of faith of, this is getting me closer to what my overall goal is. And that's proof that you trust God's plan more than your comfort. Now, the crazy part about this whole burning the boats situation is, at least for my own situation, when you finally go all in and you really burn those boats and you really have faith that, hey, I'm gonna take this shot, I'm gonna rely on God, I'm gonna rely on my work, I'm gonna rely on my discipline. When you do all those things, doors start to open that you didn't know even existed. And sometimes those doors are doors that, one, you didn't know existed, but you also, like, it's an option that you didn't think you would want. Or when you thought of best case scenario, that door was never in there, but then when it actually happens, you're like, man, this was actually better than the way I visualized it. And that's why I always tell people, like, it's gonna work out at the end of the day. And it may not work out, it usually doesn't work out the way you thought it was gonna work out, but from at least my own experience, it usually works out better in a way that I was not able to see. You meet the right people, opportunities show up, your energy changes, and this is all because literally when you commit, that commitment creates clarity, and faith multiplies that clarity into your favor at the end of the day. I truly believe God doesn't bless half-hearted effort. In all the stories that I've read in the Bible so far, all the people that he's called, they've had to be all in. It was just not like a, hey, I'm going to put my foot in. Or even with the situation when he's walking on water, and I believe it was Peter, he was basically told to come out on the water. Peter didn't have faith and he fell. You have to go all in at the end of the day. So here's my challenge to you this week, because at the end of every Monday motivation, I will have a challenge for you. And again, when I'm speaking to you guys, I'm literally saying this as a challenge to myself. Take inventory of your life and your current situation and identify the boats that you have been holding on to yourself. And for instance, what safety nets are keeping you from going all in on the one thing that God put in your heart? Because like I said, I truly believe if something ignites you, if something excites you, it was put there by someone bigger than you. That's my own personal opinion. Now, once you do this, though, what you got to do is you got to write them down, and then the hard part is you got to make a decision that you're going to burn them. You got to burn the boats, not recklessly, not emotionally, like don't go crazy or whatever, but you have to be intentional about it. Because, again, you're choosing faith over fear. Now, like I said, I'm not telling you to quit your job, but maybe it's quitting the thought of that you're going to be there forever. Maybe it's quitting the thought of, I can't get out of my job. Maybe it's quitting the thought of, every good job out there, you have to get a degree. Maybe that's the boat you burn. Maybe you burn that negative thought. Maybe burning the boat is actually going in and enrolling in classes for college, so that you could eventually get out of that job. That might be the way you burn your boat. It may not be you just quit your job and say, oh, I have faith. This guy on YouTube, Bryce, told me to quit my job and faith will open up doors. No, I'm not saying that. But again, maybe your bridge or your boat, that you need to burn is that thought that you have and have held for so long of, like, you can only get a certain job because of your certain capabilities. That's what I'm saying when you have to burn your boat. It might be completely burning that sense of thinking and that limiting belief. And again, looking at a different door that maybe God is presenting to you. Now, once you do that, you will actually realize something very powerful. That you never needed the boats in the first place. And that you were truly meant to walk on water. And again, that might be either leaving a toxic relationship, leaving a toxic work environment. It might be going back to school when you're super uncomfortable. But at least from my experience, anytime I've done something that drastic or that, like, I guess, life-changing, the outcome and how I felt while I was doing it, it just felt so much better and it felt right compared to the boats that I was holding on to, the safety nets, the security. So again, write it down, burn them, and make a plan. That's today's Monday motivation. Now, if this message hit home and you feel that you are not the only one out there that is holding on to boats, and you know someone that could benefit from this video, make sure you share this video with them. Like it if you enjoyed it. I'd greatly appreciate that. And then comment below what boats you plan on burning this week and what things you have been holding on to as a safety net. I would encourage you, don't play it safe this week. Go all in, burn the boats, trust the process, and let faith take you the rest of the way. And you guys already know the motto here. Stay happy, stay healthy, and above all, don't be average. I will see you next Monday.